You're watching the Ballot Nigeria. We've been covering the elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa states, the off-cycle elections in Nigeria all day since 7 a.m. today. My colleagues have been doing justice to the coverage from across the three states. It's time for us to join the fray. My name is Felicity Ezewuike.
And of course, my name is Dapo. Adegboye. News Central has been, of course, at the ground of the action happening across Nigeria. Three major states, off-cycle season elections. And of course, you can see right now that things are actually beginning to, of course, gear up in this particular state. Precisely Imo State, Kogi State, and of course Bayelsa State. And of course, the drama too, which of course News Central has been keeping you up to speed. Okay. Well, I think right now they're at the level of collation. I mean, very soon, I mean, as much as we get the results, definitely we will, of course, let you know. But right now, voting seems to have stopped.
Concluded.
Concluded
in most places.
In most places, even though there were challenges, you know, initially, of course, in Bayelsa State, there was the issue.
There's so many challenges. I'm sure we'll be able to take some of.
We'll do a recap of
yeah, so we'll try and do that. But just to give you an idea what's been going on, like Dapo said, the voting has been concluded in most places. Counting is ongoing. Results are being uploaded. We know that some good news, the abducted INEC official in Bayelsa has been freed. We also know that as an aftermath of the process, the PDP candidate in Kogi, Dino Melaye, is asking for the cancellation of elections in 5 states, 5 local government areas, I beg your pardon. And then for Bayelsa states, there are concerns. One of the candidates there, Dimitri Silva, is saying his center had issues with uploading results to IREV. Election observers are already commenting on the election process, commending INEC on the one hand and giving them knocks on the other. We have so much, just like a slight post-mortem as the results are coming in. We'll be bringing them to you, like Dapo had said. We'll have some guests joining us. We'll have some virtually, and we have live in the studio. In the studio, we have Francis Chilaka. He's a political analyst and social commentator. Thank you for joining us, Francis.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Great. And of course, we will be having guests join us too virtually on the show. Just for recap, let's take you through at least some of the top contenders across the states having the off-cycle elections. Now, starting off with Imo State, of course, the incumbent, Hope Uzodimma, is running on the platform of the APC. There you can see on your screen there is the current governor of Imo State, born in December 1958 in Imo State, Southeast Nigeria. Education, master's degree in human relations, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, degree in political science from the University of London. Also still political career, youth leader of the defunct National Party of Nigeria, NPN, in Imo State in the Second Republic, and also a prominent member of the now defunct United Nigeria Congress Party, UNCP. He joined the PDP in the early 2000s and of course contested for governorship under the Alliance for Democracy AD in 2003, but lost, and also contested under the PDP in 2006, also lost the primaries. Appointed Board of Trustees, BOT member of the People's Democratic Party. Of course, in a twist of events, he became the governor on the platform of the APC, even though it was a court.
The interesting thing about Imo and Bayelsa, analysts are saying, is the fact that it's a litmus test for the incumbent, because this is actually the first time that the electorate will be doing the choosing. Both cases were decided by the court. We'll be picking our guest, Francis, thoughts on some of the developments in Imo State. Yes. We also have, I don't know if you've introduced them, Ihejirika Emeka. Yes. He's joining us virtually. He's the spokesperson for Senator Athan Achonu campaign organization in Imo State. Good to see you, sir. Kajetan Duke is the state publicity secretary of the APC in Imo State. And we also have Ikenna Onuoha, special advisor on media, PDP governorship candidate in Imo State. Gentlemen, we'll be focusing on your reactions to the process so far in Imo State, and we'll be bringing our viewers updates on developments that has taken the day, taking us through the day, actually. Let's start with Francis. Francis, elections in Imo State. The governor says it's free and fair, unlike the permutations of violence and security breaches that was said will come with the process. That has not been witnessed, according to the governor. But on the other hand, we know that earlier in the day, when the election process started, the center where one of the candidates, Samayan, was supposed to cast his ballot, there was gunshots. We also had instances of fracas in some parts of Imo State. What is your overall impression of the process? Is it as free and fair as the governor would want us to believe?
Well, the governor has a right to say what he wants to say. He has a right to tell us that the elections is going on free and fair. But we all know that the election has been marred with a lot of violence, a lot of insincerity on the parts of the APC as a party and on the parts of INEC as well. But then, for me, the elections have come. We're hoping that INEC, on his own part, will deliver to the yearnings of the people and not doing the bidding of a political party or a particular candidate. Imo is a hotbed, we all know that, and we all know where the hotbed started. It started with the last election that actually brought up Hope Uzodinma into power, which was more like the Imolites will say, he is the Supreme Court governor. But then we've moved past that. We're now having a litmus test to know what is really in the minds and hearts of the Imolites. So, talking about free and fair, election can never be free and fair in Nigeria. Not only in Imo State, in Nigeria in general, election cannot be free and fair.
Did you hear any instance of disruptions, to your knowledge, as an independent person looking on? Did you see maybe something that we missed in the news that indicated that, yes, it might not be totally fair, but was it free in some cases?
Well, I am not in Imo State, but I've heard a lot of things because I have people on ground.
What did you hear?
I heard that the deputy governorship candidate of the PDP was attacked in his house. I also heard that people were snatching boxes, people were thumbprinting for a particular candidate. But these are not confirmed yet. We believe that those on ground should be able to confirm them and then relate it back. But, people are saying all manner of things, and you cannot hold on to it if you're not there. But
okay, let's find out from the people that are actually on the ground in Imo State. I will start with Kajetan.
Of course, Mazi, let's of course take your thoughts on this. Now, that's the special advice on media, PDP governorship candidate, Imo State. Now, there are reports that the deputy governor was actually attacked. Let's start from there. Is there any, of course, some sort of substance to this claim?
Okay, thank you so much, my young man. Actually, today, Imo people had come out for a free and fair election. And unfortunately, we never knew that the people we are contesting with had a different thing in mind. Today, within the hours of, or between the hours of 3 and 4 p.m. today, some hoodlums suspected to be loyal to the All Progressives Congress stormed the house of the deputy governorship running mate of the People's Democratic Party and created panic. On the process, the deputy governorship running mate of the People's Democratic.
Okay, I think his internet got interrupted there. He seems to be confirming that something did happen. I was going to ask him if that stopped him from exercising his franchise. Okay. Ikenna, Onuoha, can you...
Vacated the whole place. And they came there with an armored personnel carrier vehicle. And people who were there, I'm talking about the eyewitnesses, reported that the special advisor to the incumbent governor on special duties, Chinasa, and the chief of staff to the governor, who is also from Nkwere, the same place.
Okay, Ikenna, you're saying eyewitnesses. Did you speak to these eyewitnesses yourself to confirm that the people who came to the deputy governor's house was actually of the incumbent? Let's go to the incumbent. We seem to be having a little bit of a network challenge. Let's go to the incumbent representative, that's the special advisor on media. I beg your pardon, the State Publicity Secretary of the APC in Imo State, that's Kajetan. Kajetan, you've heard what Ikenna said. Is it true that the incumbent had any hand in the alleged attack at the deputy candidate's home for the PDP? Hello, Kajetan, can you hear me? All right, while we're waiting to get some response, I think it's fair for us to bring you some updates from other parts while we're waiting to continue the conversation. We'll come to Francis in the studio in a bit. I'd like to share with you some of the things that we've heard, we've seen, we've been following all day. One of that is that INEC, initially it was discarded as rumor, but INEC has come up to say they will be investigating alleged cases of result sheets that were already out before the process was even concluded. I think we have Kajetan and Ikenna back. Let's finish our thoughts with Ikenna before we go to Kajetan. Ikenna, please, can you quickly wrap up? You were saying that the incumbent assistants were at the home of the deputy, and I was asking you before we were interrupted if you spoke to these eyewitnesses yourself.
To actually confirm the veracity of your claim.
Yes, my brother. It is in public domain. It is no longer a hearsay that some thugs suspected to be loyal to the All Progressive Congress stormed the residence of the deputy governorship running mate of the People's Democratic Party PDP. Governorship candidate today between the hours of 3 and 4 and started shooting sporadically. And they came in there with armored personnel carrier with over 50 security men wearing different uniforms, the military uniforms and police uniforms and other security uniforms, and started shooting sporadically. And on the process of shooting sporadically, people dispersed, people scattered, and people deserted the area. And in the process, a report came up, and the deputy running mate of the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party was unlucky to the inferno of the shootings. This is one out of the numerous shootings in Imo today. In Ishi, Ikeduru local government, where the local government of the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party as well.
Okay.
His driver, one of his drivers was shot. Okay. And his vehicle was burned to ashes.
I'm sorry, but I might just need to come in here. Let's also hear from, of course, Emeka Ihejirika, who is the spokesperson.
I think he's the one that...
Exactly. I mean, Athan, Achonu campaign, Imo State. So, I mean, just to sort of substantiate what, of course, Mazi Ikenna has been saying, I mean, what's your take on this? What is your reaction?
He did not even state it well. He did not state it well. He only touched the surface. Please, there was no election in Imo State. What we had, and what we are still having is stealing, vote stealing on a large scale. And
you said vote stealing. What claims, what evidence do you have to prove this? I mean, these are really weighty.
We have a whole lot of evidence.
Okay.
These people came out in full force, almost everywhere. And they sent Frank Mba, DIG, to come here with the policemen. There's a brigade of guards as well as artillery brigade opens. Let it be known that their men were complicit in these acts. They went everywhere, compromised INEC staff, that is Mahmoud's people. In some places, they've already written the results. So they wanted people to just vote as a formality. In some places, people did not vote even with the PVC. So what Ikenna just touched it on the surface. Let it be known to all Nigerians that no election took place in Imo State. And if Mahmoud,
Ihejirika, that would not be a fair. Our colleague from News Central is on the ground in Imo State. They reported live from polling units and said there was voter apathy, but people did come out to cast their ballot. So would it be fair for you to say there was no election in Imo State?
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is it an election that people will vote? Government officials, like he mentioned, and other officials will come, and then they will pack everything, they will steal everything, take everything with INEC.
Do you have maybe, because one thing is to allege, the other thing is to prove. But we'll come back. We'll come back to you in a bit. Let's bring in.
There was no election in Imo State. What we had was daylight robbery by the state government and the APC and the Mahmoud, his boys.
Okay.
Frank Mba, the DIG posted here. His men were complicit.
Okay, I want to ask you personally, were you able to vote at your unit?
At my unit?
Yes.
You don't understand what we are saying. It is not the voting, but the manipulation, the violence.
I understand, but I just want to ask you, were you able to vote?
Myself?
Yes.
Yes, I was.
Then it means that there was voting in your state. But I understand the aspect.
You're not understanding me. Is it voting? When after voting in a polling unit, a government official, APC government official will come with soldiers, policemen, and then take the INEC people to somewhere to change the voting. Is it voting? Is it an election? The normal process of an election is that after voting, votes are counted. But this one, votes are not counted.
So I think we should narrow it down and speak for your polling unit. So in your polling unit, no votes were counted.
No, it's everywhere. It's widespread.
All right, let's go to Kajektan. I think Ihejirika, we're giving you some time to speak. Let's bring in Kajektan and hear from him as well. It's not a one-party state. There are other parties, and he's representing the APC. So go ahead. I want you to react to what Ihejirika and Ikenna have said so far as regards the elections in Imo State. Kajektan, can you hear us?
It's on your TV.
Okay. I don't think he can hear us at the moment. Let's take a reaction from Francis in the studio. Francis, I mean, that looked like we're getting ready to go back to the courts. Will I be wrong to say that?
Well, we're going to go back to the courts. The courts have, with the last two elections, we found out that the courts have decided most of the election results. They've decided most of the candidates as well. It's really, really unfortunate that one man is being pointed at in all the brouhaha going on in Imo State, and that is the SA to the governor, Chinasa. It's unfortunate. This is the same person that is being accused of masterminding the attack on the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress. So, you know, I don't understand the kind of country we are running. If there's an allegation against somebody that he has masterminded an attack on somebody, I had thought that he was it was in detention. He was with the police giving result reports. But, you know, hearing that he's walking around free, moving around with soldiers, moving around with police, moving around with armored vehicles, something is definitely wrong. I said this thing a few days back. I said, being an SA to a governor does not give you right to control security apparatus in the state. We need to begin to draw a line, the role that those who work for government officials play. Most of the times when things go wrong, you know, you don't pinpoint it to the governor. It's always pinpointed to an SA or a commissioner. So we need to know at what point they should stop interfering in the governance of the state. If what the two persons from...
okay, Francis, I'm sorry, I might just need to cut you a bit because we have News Central's Bettina on standby, of course, to keep us up to speed with happenings right now. Bettina, thank you for joining in.
All right, we understand she's not ready, so it's a good point to bring Kajetan back in. We've heard from two APC, PDP persons saying they're not happy with the process so far. Kajetan, what's your take? Okay, we go back to Francis, please.
Well, so as I was trying to point out the fact that you know, we need to take another look at the electoral law. We need to take a look at the Nigerian Constitution. We need to find a way around having an election that is devoid of violence. Maybe people can just vote from their homes. Maybe we need to work out something close to that. This whole idea of, you know, people having to, you know, run for their lives, people having to be worried. It's like a war zone in each of the states that elections are going on today. This has to stop. If we believe in democratic system, we need to find a way around it and find the kind of democracy that works for Nigeria. The current democracy we are practicing is not working for Nigeria. It's not helping this country to move forward. So we need to begin to think in the light of saying, how do we get it right? You know, maybe we should just have a system where you stay in your house, you use your phone, and you cast your vote, and nobody gets hurt. This idea of people losing their lives during an election must stop.
I mean, but Francis, we'll pick up from there. Let's, of course, link up with News Central's Bettina right now, who is actually at the scene of where, of course, the elections is happening. Bettina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you keep us up to speed? What's the latest right now where you are?
Well, the curfew is over. As you can see, movement has begun in Lokoja in Kogi State here. Earlier on, I had said that there will be a curfew from yesterday, 12 midnight, up until 6 p.m. today. And true to it, we had full security presence on the streets of Kogi State, and they made sure that there were no movements during the election, except, of course, for those who were accredited to participate during this election. But right now, the streets are busy. People are moving around now, and collation will begin very soon at the centers, where we'll be following up as well.
Where exactly are you in Kogi State at the moment?
I'm in Lokoja right now.
What was the general mood of Lokoja through the day as you went around looking at the process in various polling units?
Well, I will say there was low voter turnout. What we expected to see, the crowd that we expected to see in most polling units were not available. We could only find huge crowds at the polling unit of the people who were actually contesting. For example, at Ododo's polling unit, there was a huge crowd there. At Dino Melaye's polling unit as well, there was a huge crowd there. But when you go into the smaller polling units where they don't have like major party candidates, it was quite slim. It was a very slim turnout.
Bettina, any idea why that is?
I've been trying to find out, because most of the people I have spoken to, they will tell you they voted, but I was on ground. I saw the crowd, so I know that some people are telling lies. Why they are telling lies, I wouldn't know. But at the same time, it might also be coupled with the fact that the history of violence during election in Kogi State may have contributed to people deciding that this time around, they will just sit down in their homes.
There are cases of alleged cases of result sheets at polling units earlier today. We understand the INEC has written that they will be investigating. Did it come to your knowledge when you're talking with your colleagues on the ground? Were there any indication that this is actually true?
I cannot speak on that. However, I can tell you that in one of the polling units where I monitored, there were cases of ballot papers that had stamps but were not signed properly at the back that were used for this process, which is why during the course of the day, we saw some party agents arguing and having different arguments over whether that vote would be considered valid or not, saying that even though it had a stamp, it was not signed the way it's supposed to be.
Bettina, now looking at, of course, the environment right now and the fact that you said that people have returned, of course, to their normal lives. Any feelers as to maybe any local government where results have started, coming in terms of counting and all of that?
We're having a few feelers here, nothing confirmed yet, but I promise you we're on top of it, and once we get more information, you'll be the first to know.
I want you to talk to us about some of the information we heard that, although you said security was very tight, you have them there. There was an allegation that a vote snatcher was shot and killed. Did that information come to you at any point?
Yes, it did. I got it from my own underground sources who say that this alleged person who was shot in the process of trying to snatch a ballot was pretending to be a youth corper, wearing the youth corper uniform. But after verification, they found out the person was not a youth corper.
There are also issues of vote buying, as alleged by some individuals. Did you see anything like that happen?
Well, something close related to vote buying happened in one of the polling units where I visited, where we had a party agent who was basically almost helping the elderly to cast their vote themselves with the claim that, oh, they are old and he's trying to put them through. But the truth is he was trying to manipulate their votes, maybe with or without their knowledge, but it happened.
Are you sure? What is your level of optimism that vote counting will be done tonight?
I would say it's a 50-50 thing. I cannot ascertain right now.
Were there any challenge with uploading results that you're aware of?
None that I'm aware of. For all the centers where I visited, they didn't have any problems with uploading results.
So no technical issues, because I mean, in terms of handling both the beavers machine and I know that at some point some would say internet issues and all of that. You really never saw anything like that happen, I mean, today.
Well, there were internet issues because generally in some parts of Kogi State, the network is really bad. Even for me, myself, to transmit, it was an issue because we had very bad network. In some areas, you have your mobile network on X and even your Wi-Fi on complete X, meaning that there is no single network around there at all. So yes, we did have that, and we confirmed that it wasn't any plan or, any design by INEC. It was actually the truth because the network there was bad.
Before we let you go, Bettina, the candidate of the PDP has come up to say that elections in about 5 local governments, that's Okene, Okehi, Ajokuta, Adari, and Ogorimagongo, that these places, elections need to be held again, cancelled and redone. What feelers did you get from journalists around this area as to the authenticity of his allegation? Is there any truth to your knowledge?
None to my knowledge, especially in Okene. I would say that I didn't see any hanky-panky, except for the young man I'm telling you about who was trying to manipulate votes for the elderly. Apart from that, I didn't notice anything personally, and I haven't heard any feelers.
All right, Bettina, I wish I could say go catch some well-needed rest, but you're still on the field, so keep safe and take some real good water.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
All right.
I mean, that's News Central's Bettina there from Lokoja, Kogi State, of course, keeping us up to speed with the happenings there. Interesting times, you say, in Kogi State. And one of the major contenders, Dino Melaye, actually did make the news. I mean, for people who are familiar with the political terrain, they know that Dino and drama is one and, of course, two. One question he was asked, though, was whether he voted. And he said he did. But, I mean, it wasn't captured. Right?
I remember during the course of the day, I think it's Kofi now, they were trying, either Kofi or Sarge, they were asking, saying that they were getting ready to see what was happening in Kogi at his polling unit. But yes. I couldn't catch whether he actually voted or not.
Yeah, he claimed he did. I mean, even though, I mean, the press wasn't there to sort of capture that moment. You know, but he claimed he did, and feelings have it that he might just be leading in his particular unit there. Well, aside that, he also has other allegations saying that elections should be redone in about 5 local governments, of course, which Felicity did read out.
All right. If you're just tuning in, this is the Ballot Nigeria. We're taking an overview of today's process. We know that voting has been conducted, though some allegations of vote buying, inability to vote, ballot box snatching, but not at the scale, you know, we've witnessed in the past. At least that's the feelers we're getting. Election observers are already commenting on the process. We still have in the studio Francis Chilaka, political analyst and social commentator, and virtually we're joined. I originally thought we had Kajet and Duke, but I understand from our director that he is not available at the moment, and I apologize for the mix-up earlier. But we do have Ihejirika Emeka. He's the spokesman, Senator Athan Achonu campaign organization in Imo State. We also have Ikenna Onuoha, special advisor on media, PDP governorship candidate in Imo State. It would have been lovely to have a member of another party with us in this analysis, because the PDP, as represented by the two gentlemen here, have made strong allegations against the APC. We will, of course, make efforts to try and get representative, not only from the APC, but also from other political parties in Imo State that took part in the process. I understand we have 17 political parties in Imo State that participated in the governorship elections. Quickly, before we come back to Ihejirika and Ikenna, let's speak to Francis and take a reaction to what was said by Bettina as to her overall view of events in Kogi State. Francis, I mean, we still have, whether it's pockets or not, there were cases of violence. Does this worry you that even in 2023, after what we've experienced with the February polls, we're having even pockets of it? Some would say it is totally unacceptable.
So long as we keep turning a blind eye to the truth, so long as we keep you know, believing that the political class will do the right thing without taking measures and decisive steps as a people to stem it. The problem with our electoral process, maybe it's not the electoral process. Maybe it is the largesse that goes with the office. Because of that, any candidates are willing and ready to do anything just to get into power. It's not about the people. Everything that happens during election has nothing to do with the ordinary people. Unfortunately, the political class have realized the power of hunger, the power of poverty, the power of unemployment. And that is why those who are contesting, incumbent governors cannot point at what they have done for the people in the last 3.5 years or 4 years.
Well, doesn't that defeat the purpose of democracy and elections? Because if politicians, like you allege, are perpetrating allowing poverty to continue in order to foster their own purposes, then we shouldn't be having elections in the first place, don't you think?
That's why I said that we need to look at the electoral law once more. We need to design a constitution that suits this time we're in. Not a constitution that was handed over, which more was prepared by the military and foisted on the Nigerian people. And that's why I keep telling people when they say, when you talk about the first line of the constitution, says, we the Nigerian, I am not part of the we. I don't consent to that. You know, I have always said that is an obnoxious document, and that document needs to be destroyed. That is one. Two, we need to look at the electoral laws. If we spend so much money getting the beavers and the IRAV to work, we need to have a system where, you know, people do not need to go out to queue. People do not need to do anything. People just use their phones and vote. This is the 21st century. Maybe when we do that, maybe when those who have been leading realize that, you know, you cannot buy votes, you cannot manipulate the people have a right. The people must realize that sovereignty lies with them, power lies with the people. You know, the 5,000, the 10,000, the 8,000 that the politician is giving to you, it means that you're going to starve for the next 4 years.
Unfortunately, to bust your bubble, they said they've increased it to about 20,000 as high.
Even if you're giving people 100,000, how much is a liter of diesel today?
I'm just trying to break the.
I understand, but the point is that we need to begin to hold our leaders accountable. Unfortunately, we're not holding them accountable, and that is why things are not working in this country. We need to hold leaders accountable. The Nigerian people need to wake up from their dreams and realize that power belongs to them. They need to realize that you do not need to take that money from that politician to vote that person.
All right, Francis. I mean, I might just need to hold you on that. I want to go to you, Emeka, right? Emeka, I mean, your party made really strong allegations concerning the electoral process that, of course, is ongoing in Imo State. So I want to ask you right now, what would you do concerning the results that eventually come out of this? Would your party accept it?
We are not going to accept any fraudulent result.
What do you mean by fraudulent?
Result?
Can you give it a context?
We are not going to accept it. And let me tell you, I've not finished though.
Okay.
These people are alleged to have mapped out 800,000 per booth. 800,000 per booth. We have heavy evidence of vote buying by the APC. And that is not enough because they were not buying enough people. They now resorted to violence everywhere. So that Imo State election should be cancelled in its entirety. Because Labour Party won everywhere. And right now, they are changing the results. They are manipulating the results. They are chasing people out of the collation centers and their people are there. Is that an election?
Okay, so let's give it a so let's give it a context right now.
No, sorry, sir.
Okay,
we
continue.
Thought with the advent of President Tinubu that things will change. And then we thought that with personalities like Frank Mba, DIG, who was sent here, and so many other people to oversee security, we thought that things would change. If you go to Owerri today, the policemen and the army are even more than the residents. They are everywhere, hundreds of thousands of them, on the streets everywhere.
Okay, so
and yet people were intimidated in the polling stations. Electoral materials were diverted to private homes where APC started their manipulation.
So I just want to ask you, you said your party will not accept any form of fraudulent result. What is fraudulent? Just quickly, what do you consider fraudulent?
The results that has been doctored, the results that have been changed, the results that were manufactured in the home of APC chieftains. We are not going to accept them.
All right.
They are fraudulent.
Okay, what if in a turn of events, let's say the PDP wins? What happens? Will it still be fraudulent?
No, wait now. We are not accusing PDP. Have you seen me accuse PDP of anything? Because they were not doing most of those things on the ground. It is the APC. It is the government of the day in Imo State
All right, let me quickly
what if the Labour Party wins?
Let's move this conversation a little further by bringing in our, we'll come back to you, sir. Okay. Let's bring in our colleague who is on the ground, because as it stands, we've been talking to just a single party representative. I think having Chinwe Ugele join us now, we'll put some of these questions to her. Chinwe, if you can hear me, can you acknowledge? Okay, I'll just go ahead and ask you. We have two representatives with us as guests from Imo State. They say there were vote buying, there were cases of violence that is giving them concern about the possible integrity of the result. You are on the ground in Imo. First, I'd like to know precisely where you're speaking to us from, and then I'd like you to tell us your overview of events today. Was the violence as being alleged evident to you? Was there vote buying and vote snatching?
Well, as I speak with you now, I'm in the city of Owerri. And earlier today, I was in some local government areas to monitor the voting exercise up until counting began. So I did notice some things, but in all the local governments I visited, and at the time I visited them, I did not witness any violence. But then, like I did say earlier, there was coded vote buying. Some of us that were around noticed that it was happening, but then we wouldn't know which party that was involved in it, but there was vote buying in some of the polling units that we monitored. But as for violence, I did not see any. But one thing that was sure was that there was a lot of security men on the streets of Owerri, on the highways, but then in the hinterlands, they were not there, because you could drive as far as an hour and you wouldn't meet a single road block or checkpoint having a policeman or soldier. So that one alone was scary. It was as if they were centered in the city center just to safeguard the city center alone. So when I was even at Imo State University this afternoon, I had one of the officials run to me to complain that they didn't have a single police officer, a single security operative in the whole university, and there were 2 polling units there. So I saw that myself, and I felt that the security men were centered in a particular location, leaving the other locations, you know, open to danger. But then there was none that I saw personally.
Before you move on to other issues, I wanted you to speak quickly on what you said about the rural hinterlands not having security officials. Did that, in your view, impact on the quality of the process that you witnessed in these rural areas? Or was it peaceful? Did this open up room for manipulation? What was your impression of events on the ground?
Well, I didn't get that very well.
You said in the hinterlands there were a marked lack of security presence. They seem to be concentrated on this in the city center. So I'm asking, what was your impression? Did this affect the process in these rural communities in any way, in terms of were they vote buying, vote manipulation in any way as a result of the lack of presence of security officials?
You know, what their absence actually caused in some units or some communities is that it gave room to the vote buying. Even where we had security operatives, it was happening. You understand? It wasn't as if it was just because of the absence of the security operatives that it happened. No. But what happened was that, you know, security operatives would just sit or stand, but they are not interfering in whatever political party agents we are doing at the polling units. So that was the situation across the state. But beyond the security issue, what hit everybody most was the apathy the level of apathy was, I mean, beyond imagination. Yes, people expected the apathy, but nobody it was going to be to this level.
So right now, at what stage of the process will you say many of the polling units are at the moment? Are they at the collation stage, counting stage, or do we still have voting in some areas still ongoing?
Well, I think for the first time since I started covering elections, this federal election actually ended quite early because as of 2 p.m. in some polling units, they had already started counting. Because in a polling unit where you had about 1,000 registered voters and you have only 11 coming to vote, for goodness sake, that was no job for you to do. So it was easy. So at this point, I think what is happening is that collation is going on at the local government areas. So in a short while, I believe that they will move down to INEC headquarters here in Owerri, where the state collation will take place.
Are you aware that they are ready to accept these results, or are there any representative already at the collation center? Are you close to the place? Do you intend to go there tonight?
I will go there tonight. I'm not there yet.
All right. I guess we'll speak with you a little later. As always, please be careful.
All right. Well, I think I would like to go back to Emeka. Emeka, if you're there. Emeka, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, great. I want to rephrase the question I asked.
I am, sorry.
Okay, great.
Please, can you give me 1 minute, man? I'm at home, so
okay.
The kids are here, but just give me 1 minute.
Okay, no problem. We'll get back to you then. Let's, of course, go to Frank. Frank, you had some of the things our correspondents on ground said in Imo State, particularly voter apathy. I saw that you actually did react when she said, where you have thousands, just 11 showed up. What do you think might have been responsible for this?
What is responsible is the ruling of the Supreme Court when they when the Supreme Court made a ruling that took number 4 to number 1. After that, a lot of Imolites have said to themselves they are done with anything that has to do with voting. And the reason is because people are angry, people are upset, people feel that, you know, they just waste their time, they waste their energy, they waste their resources going, you know, to go and vote. And at the end of the day, their votes do not count. And this is where we need to have a proper reorientation. This is where we need to have the federal government getting the National Orientation Agency to be active. And then the voters' education by INEC. They need to come out and begin to educate the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people generally have lost confidence in INEC. They have lost confidence in anything that has to do with leadership. They have lost confidence in anything that has to do with voting. So it's going to take a lot of energy, a lot of time, you know, reorientating the Nigerian people to understand, you know, that they need to go out and cast their vote. But this will only be possible when, you know, people have the assurance that if they vote, what they voted has been counted and who they voted for wins the election. So long as we keep having manipulative, we keep having vote buying, we keep having, you know, the security personnel getting involved in helping one particular party, you know, to either to rig or to win the election, people, at a time will come, you will find out that on election day, people will just be in their houses watching television while the youths will be out there playing football.
I think you answered the question I was already going to ask you, because Chinwe did say that this is the first time in her election coverage experience that the election process came to a conclusion in good time, at about 2 p.m. in most places. But you would expect that if that is the case by now, we'll be hearing results being counted at the collation center. What do you think is responsible for the delay? On the flip side of it, I was going to ask you, is this a good thing? But your response has told me it's not really, because it's not because people came out and voted, but it was as a result of people not coming out to vote. So I'd like you to focus on the second part of the question. If elections and voting ended at about 2 p.m. What do you think is the delay for not having results being counted by now? I think it's past 8.
Yes, we need to first of all find out where the few voters who came out, where the votes counted at those wards. If the votes were counted, then why are the results not being released by now? It means that somebody somewhere is probably, waiting, because, there's something about Nigerian politicians. They are nocturnal human beings. They're not like you and I. When we are sleeping, that's when they're holding their meetings. And, politicians believe that the best time to, rig election, the best time to release a result is in the night. So I'm sure, maybe that's what is delaying it. But ordinarily, the results should be coming out. Between 2 o'clock and now, it's a long time. So something is very, very fishy. And this is why you are seeing the parties that participated in the election saying they do not want to accept, or they will not accept the results. Because if between 2 and 8, the results are not out, then something is not right. That's the way I say it.
All right, Francis Chilaka, thank you so much. At this point, of course, the conversation will still continue. We need to go on a quick break. When we return, of course, the Ballot Nigeria continues. Stay with us.